all the rage to talk about the first 100 days of the Trump administration. I want to talk about how do we get to the end of days. I don't mean biblical. I mean Donald Trump. How fast can we do it? And how do we support the rule of law and be the foot soldiers for our Constitution in the meantime? We break it all down for you on our Legal AF podcast that we do on the Midas Touch Network. And here is a clip. It's all the rage to talk about the first 100 days. Democrats want to do it because we're watching before our very eyes the most failed modern president in history. Every way you can measure it, from polls to economics to domestic policy to the dollar drop to the amount of executive orders being issued and the amount of executive orders being rejected by courts. By every measure, without a silver lining, an unmitigated disaster is the Trump administration. It's all the rage to talk about the first 100 days. So the Democrats want to do that. We did it here on the Midas Touch Network. I don't know if you saw the Hollywood squares of all the governors running to be president one day. There it is with my buddy, Ben Vaiselis in the middle. Governor Hochul, J.B. Pritzker. You've got, of course, the guy that was going to be vice president, Tim Walz. And who else is there? And Governor Headley, right. Got all of them there. They all want to run one day for 2028, take on Gavin Newsom. So all the rage to talk about the first 100 days. Donald Day finally woke up Rip Van Trump and told him he better get out of Bedminster. He better get out of playing golf in the sand trap at Mar-a-Lago. He better go meet some real people, start giving some real interviews and print and TV interviews and start reconnecting with the American people and change the narrative. Well, how's that going for him? Not well. Once they sent Donald Trump out on the road, pushed out there obviously by Stephen Miller and his other handlers, they said, all right, here we go. You're gonna go give a series of interviews. We'll start with Time Magazine. We'll end with The Atlantic, and then we'll put you on ABC News. How's that sound? He's, oh, it sounds great. Let's do it. How's that going? Not great. Every soundbite out of the interview shows a totally disconnected, unhinged, and gassed, out of gas Donald Trump. When he doesn't like what's being asked, he either doesn't answer it or he attacks the reporter, claims that he's in charge of the entire world, says that the lawyers are leading him down the primrose path of destruction with the United States Supreme Court, that he would have asked for the return of Abrego Garcia, who's been kidnapped and is at a gulag in El Salvador, but nobody ever thought to ask him that, except you, Mr. Reporter. And when they asked him during the interview with the Time Magazine, last time we talked to you, Mr. President, you said that you would abide by the rulings of the Supreme Court about the Constitution. I said, what? What was that? The thing you were sworn to uphold and defend. It's all the rage to talk about the 100 days. I've got new contributors on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Sean Wilentz, historian, Sidney Blumenthal, and we're coming out with a new video about the first 100 days. Hitler versus Trump. You ever think about that comment? In fact, they were even using those words in the same sentence, right? It's all the rage to talk about the first 100 days, right? We've got legal scholars and legal commentators getting together. Katie Fang, who's new with us on the Midas Touch Network, old friend of mine, going to all sorts of conferences and reporting about it. And one thing we've learned on Legal AF on the Midas Touch Network, there's talk and then there's action. There's talk and then there's action. And I want to talk about on Legal AF things that we can do together in this fellowship, right? Not just to critique and commentate and navigate about the 100 days, but to do something about it. The numbers are in, right? They are in cement. Polling numbers so catastrophic that it even rocked this hermetically sealed administration. I mean, you can't discount 39 to 42% is your highest level of approval, not just the New York Times, not just in the Washington Post, but in Fox News. Okay? The major indicator for success during the midterms is right direction, wrong direction for the country. And overwhelmingly, the country believes, including Republicans and independents who have shed the Trump administration. 70% of independents have headed for the exit for Trump. They overwhelmingly believe we're heading in the wrong, direction. All the rage to talk about the first 100 days because there is, it is a track record that indicates how the rest of the administration is going to go. Have a president, I'm sure you're going to ask me this, have some president ever turned around and done better and substantially better in the polls and with the American public after such a disastrous first 100 days? Well, it's hard to answer that question because there's been no modern day president who's ever had a worse 100 days. Let me put it in perspective for a minute. Joe Biden, at the same point in time, 52%. Barack Obama, 62%. G.W. Bush, higher than that. And this guy's at 39 to 42%. Think about that. That means he's lost a considerable amount of Republicans in MAGA because of his abuse of the rule of law, because of his economic policies and disaster, because of their impact on the American voter and their kitchen table, wallet, and purse issues. It's the economy, stupid. Not chasing immigrants through courthouses and churches and picking them up at funerals. It's not that. It's not unleashing law enforcement. A new proclamation just comes out the other day. Donald Trump, he's heard the voices. I've heard you, and I'm gonna make a change. That's why I can't answer the question. Has anybody ever turned it around? Because nobody's ever been this bad. Donald Trump's talking points from his analysis of his own 100 days is we need unleashed law enforcement, right, to be more aggressive on the American people. And while I'm at it, let me consider martial law and unleashing the military on the American people to enforce my policies. What does that sound like? That sounds like suspension of the Constitution. That sounds like martial law. That sounds like fascism burst out into the open. That's what these executive orders lined up one behind the other. So it's all the rage to talk about the 100 days. And it's very, very interesting from my perspective as sort of an amateur historian and constitutional scholar. But what does it really mean? It means a complete and wholesale rejection of what Donald Trump is selling. And has any president ever come out of a deeper hole? I mean, not to give him any ideas, but not without a war, not without a major war against America, where he has to be the commander in chief, not a made up war where, we're at war with Venezuela. We're at war with Amazon and Bezos. No. I mean, a real war. Something really devastating happens, not wishing it on us. That's really the only way he gets out of this in time for the midterms. But he almost acts like a person who doesn't care. He acts like a riverboat gambler with nothing to lose because he's already accomplished what he wanted to accomplish in running for office. There used to be an old, we don't do it anymore. We used to ask presidential candidates, why do you want to be the president? And sometimes people lost the candidacy or the presidency because they couldn't answer the question. It was as if they had never thought about it. Like, what is the driving force why you want to be president? What you don't want to hear is naked ambition, naked grab for power. You don't want to hear that. Nobody ever asked Donald Trump that question, that single question that was asked of every presidential candidate until Donald Trump, as a kid growing up and otherwise. Why? Tell the American people why you want to be president. Because we know the answer. The answer was to avoid criminal convictions, to avoid jail time, because it scared the crap out of him that he was going to be prosecuted and convicted multiply, having already been impeached multiply, having been indicted multiply, having been convicted already. That and his financial fortunes, to improve his financial fortunes, having lost so much money in the terms of judgments and other things. You see in that answer, there's no mention of the American people. There's no mention of making our lives better, because that was not the reason he ran. He ran in order to avoid a jail cell. And that's why we're seeing the warped policies that are also disconnected from the American people, because he didn't run to help the American people. And now and what we're watching, unfortunately, is Donald Trump paying off his debts. the debt to the Heritage Foundation, and the debt to the Project 2025 group, the debt to big oil, the debt to all of the crazy right-wing people that supported him, a debt to the oligarchs, to the tech bros. That's what we're watching. And all of the policies are easily explained once you take Donald Trump not helping the American people out of the equation. And so that is the rage about the first 100 days that we should be focused on. And then as we transition here on Legal AF, as we have to where that brings us to the intersection of law and politics. Welcome back. We do clips here on Legal AF and on the Midas Touch Network of what we do that we call Legal AF, the podcast. If you didn't know why we called it that, now you do. We sit at the intersection of law and politics, not just on law day, but every day, because we want to bring it to you straight without blowing smoke or sunshine. We bring you commentary like no other, and we're glad you're here, particularly on Legal AF and the Midas Touch Network. On Legal AF, the YouTube channel, of course, some great new contributors. We just added Sidney Blumenthal and Sean Wilentz, historians, researchers, scholars, writers, authors, presidential advisors. They come together to put everything in historical context with the court of history. And we also have other contributors as well, former prosecutors, court accountability action, going after federal judge corruption and the corruption in our court systems, only here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the subscribe button, and come on over to our new Legal AF Substack. Right, we got a Substack, of course. 5-6 different pieces of content every day. Starts off with my morning AF. What else would I call it? Only on Legal AF Substack. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.